Welcome to the Grassroots Army Podcast. This platform is for common sense people looking for up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information without the hot garbage corporate media bias. The power of one can lead to the power of many. You never know what small act that you may say or do that may literally change the lives of millions tomorrow. And don't you ever think that you can't make a difference, because you can.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening. It's not even afternoon anymore. Good evening, my fellow Michiganders. Good evening, my fellow Americans. Welcome to a late edition of the Grassroots Army Podcast. I am, of course, your host, Garrett Soldano, and I have a great show for all of you here tonight. Lots of great footage. We're going to bust up some narratives. Of course, I'm going to do what I do best, is just completely and utterly destroy Governor Gretchen Whitmer's little tweet that she put out after President Trump was shot the other day. And we're going to break that down. I have some old footage of what she used to say. So we're going to have some fun with that, obviously. But also, let's get to the news. J.D. Vance is President Trump's vice president pick. And what a great pick. There was several people that was obviously up for that position, and I think he picked a good one. There was even a late rumor flying around on X that he possibly was going to pick Robert Kennedy Jr., which would have been interesting. It would have shook a lot of things up, but I'm glad that we have J.D. Vance as our VP because he is based. And that is why, if you're over on X, they are literally, and I'm talking about the leftists, the liberals over there, are freaking out because this guy stands up for what he believes in. He is a fighter like President Trump. So let's get into some footage, some great footage of him doing what he does best. Here we go.
Ryan, they talk about this all the time. The thing they never mentioned is that poor girl was raped by an illegal alien, somebody that should have never been in this state in the first place. When the media and people like Tim Ryan accuse me of engaging in the great replacement theory, I'll tell you exactly what happens, Tim. What happens is that my own children, my biracial children, get attacked by scumbags online and in person because you are so desperate for political power that you'll accuse me, the father of 3 beautiful biracial babies, of engaging in racism. We are sick of it. You can believe in a border without being a racist. You can believe in the country without being a racist. And this just shows how desperate this guy is for political power.
I think it takes a special amount of gall to be from Joe Biden's political party and to complain about the fentanyl crisis that is ravaging not just Ohio, but the entire country, because it is Joe Biden's border policies that have invited this fentanyl into our country at record levels.
It explains that wife, the word wife, is an example of the type of language that we need to eliminate. And I'm just asking if that's something you think is necessary or something you support.
I'd have to give that one some more thought.
I would hope that the word wife is not something that or is something that we can all agree is a reasonable vocabulary word that most Americans use in their daily life. It's not something that we need to eliminate. And I'm very confident that the majority of Ohioans, if there's a pilot who is offended by the word wife or the word cockpit, maybe that person shouldn't be a pilot. So rather than kowtowing to people who are fragile, maybe we should actually say, if you're so worried about the words that we are using, you shouldn't be flying multi-ton metal engines through the sky. And I just ask all of us to maybe try to focus as much on real problems, like the fact that our aviation system seems to not be working as well as it used to, than the fact that we may use uninclusive or under-inclusive language.
Are you interested in being the running mate of a convicted felon?
Well, Wolf, the entire purpose of this trial was to allow the media and the Democrats to say exactly that. This is never about justice. This is about plastering convicted felon all over the airwaves, when in reality, the only thing that Donald Trump is guilty of is being in the courtroom of a political sham trial. You cannot say that this trial was anything more than politics masquerading as justice. And yes, I will help Donald Trump. I will help Donald Trump however I think that I can, Wolf, because if if we allow this to happen, it's so much bigger and so much more troubling than Donald Trump. If we allow this standard that you can throw your political opponents in jail because they're doing better than you in an election, it will be the end of this country as we know it.
On November 10th, 2021, the FAA held an inclusive language summit. Are you familiar with this effort?
I am familiar with it.
During the summit, which had a solicitation published in the Federal Register, Deputy Administrator Mims stated that when we use terms like airmen or unmanned aircraft, sorry, I'm laughing because this has to be a joke, we're sending a message that only men belong in the aerospace community. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, Senator, what I could say is that having been a pilot for 42 years and seeing the evolution of our aerospace industry, I started out in helicopters and have flown as a captain in big jetliners.
Sure.
Not everyone is a pilot today. We have drones, we have spacecraft, And so I do believe going to notices to air missions is absolutely the right thing to do. It is an accurate reflection of where our aerospace system is today. Fully supportive of that. And none of that, by the way, detracts from our mission, which is the safety of our airspace, and that will always be our North Star.
I think the point is, if it makes sense for some aviation reason, that's fine. If it makes sense purely to avoid gendered language, it seems like an unnecessary preoccupation with the words that you're using and that we're using rather than the work that we're doing.
Why criticize Pete Buttigieg on this?
The Secretary of Transportation has been the recipient of hundreds of billions of dollars of infrastructure funding, and yet it looks in a lot of ways like our infrastructure is degrading or certainly not getting better. The second thing is, yesterday, Pete Buttigieg had the opportunity to address this problem. He instead talked about the excessive amount of, this is not a joke, too many white men in the construction industry. That is not a serious concern for this country right now. What's going on in East Palestine is the Secretary of Transportation needs to focus on real problems, not fake problems. And until he does, people are going to wonder whether he's doing his job.
Based. I am very happy with the pick, and I'm sure a lot of you who are watching are the same. It is a really good ticket, and I'm excited to see where this goes. That's for sure, because the leftists are losing their minds right now. That is for sure. They're in chaos. They truly are. And that's what I want to point out is, over the last 2 weeks, ever since the debate, the corporate media, everyone's focus has been on what? President Biden's mental decline. They can't run away with it. And the whole thing, when you have a mental decline or a mental disease, it doesn't get better. It's just going to continue to get worse. And so over the next several months, you're going to see him continually go downhill. So what do they need? They need Orange Man Bad to be in the spotlight. That's what they need. They need to take the focus off President Biden's mental decline, or I like to say the weekend at Bernie's candidate, right? The weekends at Bernie's president. And they need to focus it all on Trump. And so that's what obviously happened with the assassination attempt on his life this past weekend. So what happened? All of the media is now on President Trump and not on President Biden's mental decline. So I just want to remind every single one of you out there, keep your eye on the prize that is in November. We need to win not only the presidential election, folks, we have to win up and down the ticket. We have to win up and down the ticket. We cannot let up on the accelerator one bit. We have to keep the focus on where it needs to be, because they are going to start to switch any way that they can off of President Biden and put it all on President Trump. I'm going to show a clip with Don Jr. going after a reporter at the Republican convention just today. You can already see the narrative that's coming down the line. I'm going to break that down here for all of you here in a second. But let's get into the damage control, because that's all these leftists, our enemy, they are. And I made a statement the other day. You're either for this republic or you are my enemy. And that's true. And a lot of people were upset, because I have a lot of old school Democrats that follow me, that worked for my campaign, that believe in me, which is fantastic. I can work with the old JFKs of the world. Y'all are just moderate Republicans. You just haven't admitted it yet. The leftists, the 35% of the folks in this country who want to continue to destroy our country, they are our enemy. There's no working with those people. There's no unity. So when I talk about unifying people, when I talk about unity, I'm unifying our party, the Republican Party, which needs unity, but also the people in the middle. We're going to be the party of common sense, the party of Constitution, a party of values and family. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? So that is when I say that you are our enemy. That's the leftists. That's the 30-35%. There's no working with those folks. There's not. Get it out of your thick skulls that we can work and we can come together. No, it's not. They're not going to work with us, and we're not going to work with them. That's just what it is. The line has been drawn, so you have to pick a side. You're either going to vote for this little idea called America, or you're going to be a communist. That's it. That is your choices from here on out until we get back this country called America, because we are one election cycle away from losing this thing. That is for sure, because they have painted themselves in the corners. They have. All of these Democrats who have nonstop been pushing out a narrative about President Trump, that he's a fascist, that he's Hitler, that is the end of democracy, right? All this rhetoric that they've been pushing, and finally it bit them in the butt, because when you gaslight people who are mentally disturbed, they're going to do something stupid, and that's what happened this past weekend. Okay? That's what happened. And so now you're starting to see them all kind of withdraw back. So I'm going to show some footage of today of the press conference of Karine Jean-Pierre get put in her place by a couple reporters, and they're saying, hey, look, does Biden regret his inflammatory rhetoric against President Trump over all these years? And you're going to see her answer. And I also put up a bunch of tweets that President Biden did. Well, he doesn't, his team does, but all the stuff, the narrative that they're pushing out, right? You guys are going to see that. Then we're going to evolve the conversation to our nanny governor here in the state of Michigan, hot garbage, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I'm looking forward to that part. That is for sure. So let's get into Karine Jean-Pierre's interview today. Here it is.
Be very, very clear about.
Does he or does he not regret anything that he has said about former President Trump or any of the other political rivals?
And if you look at some of the things, Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy. Donald Trump is a genuine threat. His threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. Trump poses many threats.
He's spoken out against violence. That is something that he has done over and over again, and he believes that he feels strongly about the stakes of this campaign. He feels very, very strongly about that. He wants to bring the temperature down. He wants to lower the temperature. It is important that we do that, and it is a moment that we come together, and that is what this president is all about. And he wants to continue to work on uniting this country. That's what he wants to focus on.
Follow up on that. Just last week in Michigan, President Biden called Trump a threat to this nation. Should we expect that he will not be calling out Trump with that kind of rhetoric going forward?
So what I will say is that it is important, right? We believe it's important to continue to forcefully speak against any type of political violence. That is what the president believes. And we do not want to politicize this moment. Politicizing this moment is unacceptable. We believe, and the president believes, you heard from him in a very clear statement last night about the importance of uniting this country, the importance of continuing to do so, and that we cannot tear America apart to score political points. We cannot do that. And so we don't want to politicize this moment. We want to unite. We want to continue to focus on that, and that's what the president's going to focus on right now.
So will his messaging change this week?
His messaging is going to be really clear. He's going to continue to engage with the American people. That's what you're going to see in the next upcoming days, upcoming weeks. Nothing different than what he's done in the last almost 4 years, and lay out his agenda, highlight his agenda. There are differences.
Oh, she's so hot garbage. She really is. Now look. What she said is perfectly fine. It was. What she said was great. But you know when they should have said that? Probably about 4 to 6 years ago, when all the corporate media and Hollywood and everyone else start pushing out this narrative. That's when they should have stood up and said exactly what she just did. That's not how we're going to do things. See, that's what the Democratic Party is. Fire, ready, aim. That's what they do. They just blab out their mouth. They fire, they ready, then they aim, right? That's what they do. And then when they're constantly backpedaling, then they get really quiet, or they start pushing out another narrative. They're trying to focus your energy and say, hey, look over here. We're going to forget about all the stuff that we said over here. We're just going to run with a new narrative, which is a lie. And that's what they do, is they lie, and then the media runs with the lie. And when they get caught out about the lie, and they've been proven that they've been lying, what do? They just switch to another lie, and the cycle repeats itself over and over again. So let's move on to our nanny governor here in the state of Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I'm going to pull it up right here for all of you to see. This is what she said yesterday. The shooting of former President Trump was a disgusting act of violence that caps off an alarming years-long trend in our politics. Instead, let's choose to move forward together. It's always sunshine and rainbows here in Michigan, folks. We all hold hands here. Let's chart a better path for our politics. If you see unproductive words designed to tear us apart, call them out, no matter who they come from. Hold each other accountable, even in our own party. Well, Nanny Governor, I guess if you want me to do that, I would be honored to do that to your ass right now. So let's reflect back to some of the unproductive words that you used during the pandemic designed to do what? To tear us apart, to incite violence, to strip away our constitutional rights, our freedoms, our sacred values. Let's call you out right now. Here we go.
Right now, unbelievable. If you want to do anything, just look about all of her press conferences before of last year with President Trump. She didn't say too many nice things about our president.
The President of the United States, 10 days after a plot to kidnap, put me on trial, and execute me. 10 days after that was uncovered, the president is at it again and inspiring and incentivizing and inciting this kind of domestic terrorism. It is wrong. It's got to end.
What was that? Did you want to 86 R45, which is in gang terms to murder the 45th president of the United States? That's what it seemed like. That seems pretty unproductive, Governor. And that may designed to do what? To tear us apart. So let's move on, because I'm just the gift that keeps on giving, just like we're doing to us during the pandemic with the executive orders. Here we go.
Sworn an oath to uphold the law, and right now the law is that everyone's got to mask up. We've got to implore one another to step up and to do the right thing. And Michiganders are smart. We're tough. We can figure out how to do it politely, but also forcefully.
She said that to implore one another to step up and do the right thing, to figure it out, to do it politely, but also forcefully. She went on to say, if we don't consent, and I quote the governor, then we are considering if we need to take this a step further to strengthen compliance. Did you just threaten Michiganders? Did you just threaten Americans? Because that sounded very familiar to me. This quote from King George III, once vigorous measures appear to be the only means left of bringing the Americans to a due submission to the mother country, the colonies will submit. We, as Americans, have been promised by our Creator unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Governor, your decision over the last 3 months has proven to all of us that you are a direct threat to those very words that were inked by our forefathers.
Well, looky there. Unproductive words designed to tear us apart, and that's exactly what happened in our country. Families were divided. I mean, I could go on and on. For those of you who've been following me for the last 4 years, I've been in the fight nonstop, 24/7, calling out this clown show. And I will continue, I don't need your permission, Governor, to hold your ass accountable for everything that you have done and what you continue to do. Because you can tell that she has her eye on the White House, maybe not this next election cycle, but in 2028. And I will continue to do my part to remind every single person out there what she has done to all of us. I'm not even going into the nursing homes into that. I just don't have time to continue to talk about what she has done. But they have made their bed. Now they have to sleep in it with all of the destructive things that they have said, not only to President Trump, but to all of us Republicans out there that were fascists and were extremists and all this other garbage, gaslighting folks. So Ben Shapiro really hit the nail on the head when he talked today. I saw this video. I want to share it because he kind of breaks it down. Ben's a pretty smart fella, so I want to include that here in today's live. So here he is. Listen in.
Is because, again, Donald Trump has withstood everything that his opposition can throw at him, from legal opposition to actual assassination attempts. And Donald Trump keeps moving forward. He keeps moving forward. Politico has an entire piece acknowledging this. This is Jonathan Martin. Trump's raised fist will make history and define his candidacy. And there's one other thing here. I mentioned it right at the top. The attempted assassination is one of the most predictable things to happen in American public life in my lifetime. It is simultaneously one of the most shocking and one of the most predictable. Shocking, but not surprising. Why? Because the temperature has been turned up so high for so long. His political opponents have defined him as literally Hitler. And when you keep saying your political opposition is literally Hitler, who is going to take America into a new dark age, when you say that over and over and over again, you are turning up the temperature. You're turning it up. It's how you get congressional baseball shootings. It is how you get attempted assassination attempts on Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And it's how you get what happened yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania. Again, the only person who is responsible for the actual attempted shooting is the shooter. With that said, when you keep turning up the temperature, when you keep saying that America is going to be literally destroyed, this will be the last election, Donald Trump is the worst person who has ever lived and he must be stopped. Someone is going to take that seriously and think to themselves, shouldn't I do something to stop Hitler? Shouldn't I? So, is there a measure of responsibility borne by people who say things like that over and over and over repeatedly, never stopping, consistently, every day for years on end?
He's spot on. There should be accountability for everyone that pushes out that garbage, but also the corporate media that runs with it, because that's what they're good at. They take the lie and they run with the lie. Remember, they fire, ready, aim. They do not ready, aim, fire. So last thing I want to show you here today, because I'm going to call out a narrative that they're going to run with. See, the Dems are smart. They truly are. They're smart and they're organized. And they're starting to see the writing on the wall that they're probably not going to be able to win with this candidate. It's too late. So they're already planning a new narrative. They're already trying to put things into place and new narratives to do exactly what they did to President Trump in his first presidency, is nonstop attack him. It's going to be vicious. And that's why I continue to get on here and tell you all, hey, look, the work is just getting started. President Trump is not going to be the only one that's going to turn this ship around. He's going to stop the bleeding, but it's up to all of you for the next decade to 2 decades to stay motivated, stay inspired, and stay activated. And we have to continue to win up and down the ticket, folks. That's just the name of the game from here on out. Or this little idea will be done. It truly will. Look what this country has turned into in the last 4 years. I couldn't imagine another 4 years of this. We won't survive it. So let's talk about the new narrative that they're going to push, especially when President Trump fulfills his promise of deporting the over 10 million, 18 million. I don't even know what the number is, is now the amount of illegals. But when he starts deporting, this is the narrative that is going to be played 24/7. And thank God Elon Musk bought Twitter so we can have intelligent conversation over there and we don't get censored, we don't get deplatformed, and people can actually fight against the narrative. Back in 2020, we couldn't do that. Every social media company was against us. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, right? TikTok. They still are. But the only one staying afloat right now is X. And we're allowed to have conversations. And they're doing a good job. And I hope someone else buys TikTok, because TikTok is a new king of censorship. You can't even talk about the LGBTQ community over there. You can't talk about gender transitioning being bad. You can't talk about boys using biological girls' locker rooms and restrooms and everything else that they're doing, or you will get deplatformed. I was just deplatformed off TikTok without a reason, and they won't let me appeal the video I supposedly posted. They won't even let me. 100,000 followers, gone. That's my third TikTok that has been banned. I had another TikTok with 500,000 followers banned during the pandemic because I was talking about the PCR test, right? And I was talking about masks not working, banned, all right? So that's why we need someone, hopefully, to buy TikTok so they can do the same thing with X so we can get information out on there, because the censorship, the deplatforms, it's still happening. It's still happening. It still happens to me all the time. I was just booted off YouTube 6-7 months ago now for posting about the border, the invasion of the southern border. 239,000 subscribers gone. I continue to rebuild. I have to start from scratch. It's frustrating, but that's what they do. They control the narrative. And so we have to fight back against it, because listen in what Don Jr. said.
look like, Don? What practically your father as president, I think you would even say, was a divisive figure. What's it going to look like in the second term?
I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said he was a traitor. They went after him in every which way as possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker, talking about the things that he did, the prosperity he brought, the peace deals that he signed around the world, rather than the disaster that we're living right now, I think you'd do everyone in the country a big favor.
I know immigration's important to him. I covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents?
You mean the Obama administration?
You know they didn't do that, sir.
Okay, sure.
Will there be a second family separation policy?
It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So just get out of here.
He's spot on. That's the narrative. If you tell a lie long enough, people start to what? Believe that it's true. And a lot of these folks still have not unplugged from the mainstream media, from the social media. They're still plugged in and they get brainwashed. We see it all the time with our loved ones, with our so-called friends. They are brainwashing no matter how much logic, how much data. We went through it all through the pandemic. They will not change their views. It's brainwashing 101, and they're damn good at it. They are. So continue to have conversation, continue to build platforms, share good influencers that bring you the information. We have to continue to get this messaging out. You can follow us everywhere. Now we're called the Grassroots Army because I had to change the name, but we're on YouTube. Still trying to build there. We're on TikTok, the Grassroots Army. We're on Twitter, Grassroots Army, Garrett Soldano. You'll find me. So one thing I want to leave you with is we made an awesome shirt. I think we were the first ones out of the gate. Wanted to make sure President Trump was okay. And then I talked to my media team. I said, we have to come up with something to raise some money. We are going to donate the proceeds to President Trump's campaign, but instead we're going to donate it to that firefighter's family who unfortunately lost his life that was sitting in the stands. And so all of the proceeds from the fight shirt that we made will go to that family. So here it is. Pretty excited about it. A close-up view of that shirt will be right there. Yeah, so fight. I mean, that gosh darn picture should be a bronze statue, and hopefully it will be here in the future. That is for sure. So you can go to thegrassrootsarmy.com, order that shirt. Like I said, we're going to donate it to the family of the retired firefighter who lost his life at the assassination attempt the other day, obviously. So just something to wear around, be proud of. We also have other shirts. It's another one that we love. We have Eddie Penny's permission, from former SEAL Team 6 operator. This is his brand, Unafraid. Unbelievable guy. He did an unbelievable 4-hour interview. If you ever want to hear his story, just all you have to do is Google Eddie Penny. He's amazing. He's very open about everything that he's went through, his road to finding Christ. And this is his brand, Unafraid. And he gave us permission to produce a t-shirt with the Grassroots Army logo. So we thank him for that, obviously. But what a great statement, especially with everything that just happened. So you can go to thegrassrootsarmy.com, order those t-shirts. You'll see the other gear that we have on there too. But this is about being a part of something bigger than self. That's why we created this gear. That's why we created this brand, is for you guys to understand and recognize and know that that's exactly what you are a part of. And that's called passion. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That is for sure. Okay. So again, there's a comment on here. What do you think about the Vance pick? Vance in the past has talked bad about Trump. Look, there's always going to be a clip of something that somebody said, maybe taken out of context. I haven't seen that clip, but bottom line, he's the Republican pick for VP, President Trump's pick for VP. We're getting behind him. No more disruptors in our Republican Party. And you know who you are out there. The ones that continue to kick and scream, you're disruptors. And you're starting to look like that you're Democrat plants, or you're being controlled by Democrat plants. Because if you want to take apart a party that is common sense, logic, the party of the Constitution, the party of family values, right? The party of this little idea called America, right? How do you take down something that powerful with those set of values? Well, you infiltrate it with bad actors, and you disrupt and you spread division. That's how you do it. And I firmly believe that's exactly what the Democratic Party has done in a lot of these battleground states. They have bad actors in these battleground states like Michigan, like Arizona, and they get these pawns that buy into these infiltrators' garbage, and they run with it and they disrupt. We're done with the disruptors of our party. It's time to get behind 100% up and down the ticket. Be passionate about your candidate. Fight for them, door knock, donate, support them, share their information, talk about it to other people. But after that primary, it's time for you to fall in line and get behind every single Republican candidate. Vote red up and down the ticket. That's what needs to happen. Don't stay home because it's a vote. Don't pick up your ball and go home because your candidate didn't win and you're mad. None of that shit no more. It's time to get in line. It's time to support one another. It's time to win this thing together as a grassroots army, all of you. So no more disruptors. Let's get behind them and let's make this thing happen. Until next time, God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. Of course, and always, God bless these United States. Talk to you soon.